Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm not sure if I've mentioned yet, but I have a deep passion for art, whether it's creating it or marveling at the works of some of my favorite artists. This week, I thought it would be fun to put looks together inspired by one of my favorite artists, Fairfield Porter. Fairfield Porter was an American painter, poet, and influential art critic. He's best known for figurative paintings made during the mid-20th century, a period when abstract expressionism dominated American art. I'm not going to dive too deeply into his history here in this video because I want to focus more on his distinctive use of color and how they inspire some of my looks. This first look is inspired by Porter's use of earthy warm tones. Rust and brick, muted reds and browns often show up in floors, roofs, furniture, and garments in his work. This outfit is really about warmth. The Cordera baby alpaca maxi dress in cognac is bringing in the low saturation you'll see in Porter's paintings. This sweater dress has a softness to it in color as well as textile since it's spun from alpaca. Layered over that is the extreme cashmere spin maxi skirt in rust. I love combining two long pieces like this for added warmth. And rust against cognac is such a lovely pairing because it gives a subtle shift in tone that keeps the eye moving. Fairfield Porter was brilliant at placing colors that almost blend or belong in the same color family, and that's what I was looking to bring into my outfit with this pairing. The green Labo.Art padded jacket breaks everything open. It's practical and slightly utilitarian, and that's important here because otherwise I feel like this look could drift into something too precious or too delicate for my fashion sensibility. The rust color of the skirt is striking, and the green adds another point of visual interest here, but in the earthy family. The Lemaire Croissant bag in rust was the obvious choice. I don't know if I'm capable of pairing a different bag with this skirt. It's matchy and I love it. And then I finished with the Coclico combat boots in taupe. It's subtle and that's what I wanted here. Not every item needs to command the eye's attention. And this look was inspired by these paintings here, and I love pairing green and blue together, and apparently Porter did too. Again, these earthy tones are sitting together in harmony. He uses varied shades of the same color, and I love doing that as well with my outfits. The Bergfabel walking jacket in moss has that slightly old world countryside sensibility, and you guys know how much I love this jacket because I wear it in almost every video. I almost sent it back when I first got it because it wasn't lined, and I'm so glad that I didn't. This jacket is going to be in rotation for years. Moss green is one of those colors that almost behaves like a neutral, especially when it's this dark and muted. And underneath, I kept things simple, a navy blue cardigan and the Apiece Apart Merida trousers in navy. This is where I'm playing with varied shades of one color, and I like that navy just feels softer than black. I love black for the ultimate contrast, but I feel like navy accomplishes the same, and it feels sophisticated too. The brown Lemaire croissant bag, there's something about this bag that always feels relaxed, and that's the feeling you get with Porter's subjects. The Margiela green combat boots add a bit of edge, while I'm also inspired by the outfits in a lot of Fairfield's work. I do like to blend classic minimal academia with more modern pieces, and I think it helps prevent the look from feeling too costumey. And this was another opportunity to include a varied shade of green to contrast with the jacket. And that olive tone of the green is a varied shade of brown. I loved this outfit. This look is inspired by Fairfield's use of muted colors, particularly pastels in the pink and purple color family. The Uniqlo U shirt is one of my favorites. It's 100% cotton, it's oversized, it has large pockets, a storm shield, and just the loveliest color. It's called brown on the website, but it's definitely more of a mauve color. And what more could you ask for? This shirt fits right in with my earthy color palette because it also works well with reds, lights, darks. It's so versatile. The Labo.Art padded jacket comes back again, which I love because it shows how a strong piece doesn't need constant reinvention. Against the black Apiece Apart berry crop trousers, the green feels more graphic, like a bit more modern. Fairfield, I noticed he doesn't use much black in his works, instead opting for dark browns, green black, blue black. I'd like to explore that more in future looks by considering more black alternatives instead of defaulting to black when I want a dark base. But I love these trousers. The crop changes proportions slightly, and it allows me to bring attention to my footwear like my Pep Monjo combat boots, also in black, to help finish the line. The Lemaire Croissant bag in Ristretto adds warmth in. Ristretto is such a good in-between brown and deep red color. Fairfield plays around with reds in such a smart way, often using it for small items that are able to get their fair share of visual attention. And this is what I'm doing with this bag. I love this outfit. I notice that when I wear this outfit, I try to keep it on for as long as possible, even after I've come home and, just naturally want to transition to loungewear. And that's the sign of a really good outfit. This is one of the looks that feels closest to one of Porter's landscape paintings for me. The vintage silk knit in chalk blue has a slightly faded, washed quality that's hard to replicate with new pieces, although I will say that Lemaire is fantastic at capturing that quality and color. But it feels nostalgic, which I think is the same feeling you get with his paintings. The Too Good Carpenter jacket in gray tweed brings in some structure and texture. It's boxy and a bit architectural and just beautiful in its construction. There's something very Fairfield Porter about mixing a soft, delicate color like chalky blue with another soft, delicate color like light gray. The navy Merida trousers by Apiece Apart is a steady base and a nice juxtaposition between the light and dark blues. The Lemaire camera bag in Ristretto introduces a pop of color similar to how Fairfield introduces a dark color to keep his paintings from falling flat amidst the other muted colors. And I don't feel like the bag is distracting at all. This reddish brown against the blue and gray is just beautiful. I finished with the Pep Monjo combat boots again. I had strongly considered navy socks with a pair of black loafers with this look, but location matters and a nice sturdy boot is what this location called for. And I don't think that the loafer option would have added much to the look, so I'm glad I went this route. And with this outfit, we are firmly back in earthy territory, which is my favorite place to be. The vintage wool grandpa cardigan in brown is such a rich shade of brown, and if that wasn't enough, I paired the brown rust Lemaire croissant bag to this look. What's great about this look is these two articles aren't at all in competition with each other. I mean, if anything, they are in support of one another. And I'm jumping out of my usual order of things because I'm going to head straight to the shoes. It's another tie-in to the brown color story. I like that it's also a rich chocolate brown, but with deeper notes to it. These Marcel Casello boots give the look real weight and presence. And the Bergfabel walking jacket in moss returns again, reinforcing the continuity of earth tones so prevalent in Porter's work. And this piece seems to adapt to whatever it's paired with. The Cordera wool curved trousers in gray bring some dimension to the silhouette, and they move beautifully and they don't feel restrictive, even though the wool is of a heavier weight. And what you'll notice about a lot of my outfits is that they can lean a little retro, whether in terms of color or style, but I always bring in something modern to prevent the outfit from entering costume territory. I love this outfit. This look feels especially tied to Fairfield Porter for me because it's the sort of outfit that would exist in one of his interiors or portraits. The equipment silk blouse in gray is the starting point, and Porter's subjects are often dressed in these kind of soft and neutrals, clothes that register as color, but they don't really interrupt the scene. And this gray is sort of cool, almost like the color of an overcast sky. In Porter's work, gray often acts as a mediator and lets everything around it breathe. Layered over that is the vintage wool shrug in gray. This was sort of like an unconscious layering, and I like how the shrug softens the shoulders and slightly blurs the outline of the body, which is something that Porter did beautifully. His figures often feel absorbed into their surroundings rather than like cut out from them. The Cordera wool curved trousers in gray continue that idea. There's no hard break between top and bottom because both the shrug and trousers have a curved silhouette. Porter loved these near monochrome moments where you're not quite sure where one plane ends and another begins. The bag I've made, and that matters in this context, Porter painted the people he loved in the rooms they actually lived in, surrounded by their own things. And there's a sense of intimacy in that, and I think personal pieces carry that same energy. It doesn't feel styled, it's just a natural part of the outfit. And of course, that color, it's such a Fairfield Porter color. The Margiela green combat boots introduced the only real contrast. Porter often used a single darker or stronger note, sometimes a trouser, sometimes a chair, sometimes a shadow, to anchor the composition. And this green does that here. Broken record here, but I love this look. And really that's how I want to feel about all of my outfits. This final look was inspired by Porter's landscapes and transitional spaces. Porter often used subtle pattern like stripes, checks, floorboards to create rhythm. The vintage cotton striped shirt sets a slightly graphic foundation. I like how this shirt adds rhythm to the look. And over that is this Eskandar cotton raincoat in green bronze. I think that's the colorway. But it really carries the Porter reference. That color sits right in his landscape palette between moss, olive, and like a tarnished metal. In his paintings, greens often feel specific to place rather than decorative, and this coat has that same quality. And the shape of the coat matters too. It's architectural, and because the material, I think it's an oilskin, so the waxy and stiff composition is prone to wrinkles, and in this case is distinctly reminiscent of the dimension that you'll find on a mountain range between the peaks and valleys and the shadows that it creates. And by the way, if you hate wrinkles, maybe pass on this jacket. I've resolved in my mind that wrinkles come with the territory for this piece, and I'm not at all bothered by it. At least not anymore. The Cordera wool curved trousers in gray make another appearance. Gray appears constantly in Porter's work, not as a neutral absence, but as a color shaped by light. These trousers do that beautifully. They absorb the tones around them rather than competing. The Lemaire Croissant bag in brown offsets the straight lines of the coat. Porter often balanced geometry with something organic, so a chair angled slightly off, a figure leaning, a tree breaking a roofline. I mean, is it a stretch to say that this bag plays that role here? I think so. The Margiela green combat boots tie back to the coat and give the look physical presence. And again, we have a small item serving a pop of color. I'm so glad that after years of these boots sitting in my closet untouched, these boots are finally getting the love and attention that they deserve. I love the simplicity of this outfit. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had so much fun filming in picturesque locations reminiscent of Porter's landscape paintings. And what I loved about putting these looks together is that there was no departure from my usual style or color choices. But looking at my approach through the lens of an artist I admire allowed me to see the parallels and put into words all of the factors I consciously and subconsciously take into account as I build my outfits. There are some wonderful contemporary artists that I love and will consider making this a monthly or quarterly series, but let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in more content like this. As always, thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!